Ryan Rollins, thanks for joining us, mate.
Oh, no, all good, buddy.
And congrats on the AAA thing. It's a big accomplishment.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, it's all hard work paid off, right?
That's right. Can you just give, for the people that don't really know about you or don't know about Australian wrestling, like how long you've been wrestling for and who trained you, that sort of stuff?
Okay, well, not to go too much into detail, but I've actually been wrestling ever since I was 12. So, technically speaking, that's about 8 years. But honestly, I don't count most of that. I count the last 3 years as when I've actually started learning and actually got some experience, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, so I actually started PCW here in Melbourne. That would be 2004, I think.
Yeah, and who trained you?
Well, there's a series of people to start off with. Chris Knight, who's now in Canada. Carlo Cannon was probably the first person who started really getting me to where I am and really teaching me the good stuff, really.
Yeah. And like who were your influences growing up, like WWE wise sort of thing?
Well, when I was younger and I had this huge dream of being a wrestler, I honestly thought I was going to grow up to be 7 feet tall. So I started watching, Kane, Kevin Nash, all the Big Show, was the Giant back then, all these big guys, and I started making all these cool moves where I'd be the big guy and I'd be all this, But I soon realised that I was going to be smaller, and so it was pretty tragic for me. So then I started like Hoover Duke, Billy Kidman and all that, and yeah.
So you sort of adjusted your style to your
That's pretty much it.
How did you get your way over to, say, the Lance Storm Academy? I don't know, not many people might have known this, but you actually did train at the Lance Storm Academy. Just how did you get over there to get into that class?
Carlo, my first trainer, he actually originally started there. That was where he first came from. He came from there in 2006 and came back to Australia and started teaching. So ever since then, I'm like, no, I want to cut out the middleman. I want to go there, and experience it all, one-on-one. Kelly, my girlfriend, who's Nikita Noridian, we started saving up and we just dropped everything and went.
He sort of trained you from the ground up, sort of like tore everything down and rebuilt it sort of thing, or?
Yeah, that was it. Like, I wasn't sure if I was going to go back and learn the basics. I'm like, I'm going to have to learn bumps, I'm going to have to learn this and that and that. And, it was the best thing I've ever done. Like, just have every little tiny thing just from the start, the get-go, just learning everything all over again just made me so much better. It was fun to do it, you know what I mean? You
worked some shows while you were over there?
Yeah, that was the first time I worked Teddy Hart and D.H. Smith, who are both the Hart family. And, we got to do Lance Books over there, Lance Storm Books, a wrestling show, PWA in Calgary.
Yep.
So we managed to squeeze ourselves on those shows, and they were really good fun, like a whole different style of working. It was really, really, really good. Got to learn a lot.
And from what I learned, you worked both heel and face over there, was that right? Or?
Yeah. For Stampede Extreme, which was with the Hearts, that was as a heel, the dirty Australian, and I was facing PWA.
Oh, okay. Was that the controversial Stampede show?
It was. Oh no, that was. The first ones they did was sort of just like a testing sort of show, just like a pilot, and they ran 10 days in a show every single night in this bar, and there was about one night there'd be about 100 people, the next night there'd be about 3 people.
Oh,
and
wow.
they were sort of the pilot shows, and then a few months later they ran that big Legacy Wrestling, which was the flop.
Ah, okay. While you're over in North America, did you sort of take the time to try and train anywhere else, or was it just the Lance Storm Academy and that was it?
No, it was just the Lance Storm. Legit, our routine was you wake up, you go to training, you finish training, you try to squeeze in a gym session, and then you go to these Heart Legacy shows. The show would end, you'd get home at about 11, just do it all again. So it was pretty hectic. You didn't really have much time to do anything else.
Yeah, but then all you were was dedicated on wrestling. That must have been an awesome experience, really.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, Teddy Hart's the one who sort of got you into the door to Mexico. What was the procedure they went through for the tryout for it?
The tryouts were honestly the most nerve-wracking things that Kelly and I had ever done. Well, these were in Mexico, Mexico in February. And what you did was you walked in, and it was a big bullfighting arena. It was just an empty bullfighting arena that the ring set up, and there was about 100 different guys. And what you'd do is you'd have a match, and if that match was good, you'll put into another match, and if that match was good, you'll put into another match. And all the people who did not have such a good match, they'd knock them out of these the competition. So you'd be having like 5 matches that day, and if your match was good, and you get up to the last match, and then they'll pick a guy out of that match. You know what I mean? Sort of like a tournament thing.
Yeah, so you're sort of hoping you got paired up with someone that knew what he was doing.
Well, it wasn't just know what he's doing, it's can he speak English as well. That was the hardest thing.
Yeah. Like, Mexico is very uncharted territory for, like, Australian wrestlers. Was it always a goal of yours to get to Mexico, or to get to...
It was, yeah. I've always been a fan of the style, but not only that, Japanese guy called Shadow Phoenix had trained in Mexico, and then he came to Australia and started teaching us a bit of that style. And ever since then, I always wanted to go train where he trained, which was with Jorge Riviera, with Skyder. And we accidentally wound up in Skyder's training joint, his gym.
Yeah, accidentally stumbled
amazing.
into it.
Yeah, no, it was excellent, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and how different is it adapting to the lucha style as opposed to the normal sort of like the Americanized style that you'd been probably trained with from the start?
You know what? I thought I was gonna ace it. I thought I was just gonna get in there and they're gonna move like them and wrestle like them. It was amazing the way they did everything, even their training drills. They would start up training and just start flipping around and rolling around, and you'd have to keep up with them. And it was something I've never been a part of. In Canada, it was more facial expressions and the acting part of it, and not so much of the fitness. But yeah, as soon as we got to Mexico, it was 300 squats, and then you get in the ring and you roll around, you roll around, you roll around, you roll around. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's sort of like, Did you watch the first one and you were like, oh, I think this is going to be a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be?
Yeah, that first match when we walked into the tryouts, they had that first match, and there was this one guy that did a dive into the outside, into the fan seats.
Wow.
So over the barricade, he did this big corkscrew dive, and I'm standing there going, wow, they were moving so fast. And then we got in there, and the first thing I did, because they'd wrestle very well, but they didn't put that act into it. They didn't put the charisma into it. So the first thing I did when I got in there was the lame face clap.
Yep.
And get everyone into it, and start shouting and being as charismatic as possible, because I thought that was my only chance.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much pulled out all my moves that I could. We want to see everything everything. So I did 30. I did a shooting star senton.
Wow.
So yeah, actually it was a bit of a combination between everything that's sort of me in there.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I've noticed about the lucha style. It is very sort of spot. It's not so much the storytelling that the American style is.
Yeah, well, in Lancers, you get whipped to a buckle, and you'd rape that for everything that it was. You'd sell it. You'd look at the crowd. You'd make something out of it. I got whipped into a buckle in Mexico, and I turned to sell to the crowd. I turned back, and there was a fist in my face, and I got punched straight in the nose. It was just, one thing after another one. It was a bit confusing at first, but you just have to get used to it.
When you go over there, do you know if you're being Ryan Rollins, or will you be packaged under a mask, or...?
No, they just want me. They don't want the Vyro gimmick. They don't want the Lady Gaga gimmick. They want me.
Oh, that's awesome. With the AAA now signing that deal to go into America, that's got to be a huge chance for you to break into that market as well. Is that something you'd looked into?
I see my time in AAA as a stepping stone. Like, I love the place and I love the people when we were there. The training was just excellent. But hopefully it can break me into the North America and, start really making money out of it and really get my name out there, you know what I mean?
Looking back, some of your favourite matches or opponents that you've worked?
Definitely last night, Damian Slater.
Yeah, I did hear that was...
I've always loved tagging with Carlo. Like, we had a match a couple of weeks ago against the Armstrongs. They're always great to work with.
Yes, that Tower of Doom spot was unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that you've really worked where, like, this is just easy, this is meant, you know what I mean?
Might be on Jay Andrews.
Oh, yep.
Hard way in. I'm getting in the ring with them because I know I'll be taken care of, and whatever happens, they'll get me out of it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, them, Robbie Eagle, definitely. Josh Shooter as well. Good friend of mine as well.
Oh, God, don't put that over. Some of your favourite promotions that you've worked around the country?
Ooh, see, everyone's got their ups and downs. I can't really say one of them because everyone has something wrong with them, and every one of them has something right with them. You know what I mean?
Yep. Is there any guys that you've worked in Australia that you can actually see going over to the States or going over to Japan or Mexico? Anyone that stands out in your mind, like, this guy's not going to be here very long. He will be. Do you know what I mean? Well,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Damien Slater, I do not know why he's not working full time anywhere.
Yeah, I know.
Anywhere. Carlo Cannon, he needs to be somewhere. And I know Josh Shooter's in Japan. I'd like to see how that goes out. I'm pretty sure he's very well over there.
Yeah, I do like Josh. He is, as much as everyone gives him hell, he's a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so very much for talking to us, man. But before we go, if you got any Facebook or Twitter plugs so people can keep a track of you when you're over there in Mexico and experiencing in that life?
Yeah, definitely. My Twitter is the Ryan Rollins. Facebook, just look up Ryan Rollins. I'm actually a huge Instagrammer. I'm pretty addicted to it. So that's Ryan Rollins as well. So my main thing is Instagram, to be honest.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, man. And all the best in Mexico.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, mate.